Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. We are presented by The Athletic. Today on the show, it is that time of the week to talk with our good friend, Matt Pennie. What up, Ben?
How are we living out there? You look great. I commented pre-show, but you got a haircut. You got some color. You look like an Australian native right now. You look great.
Well, it's funny. Like, I got a haircut and I feel like somehow I look like I'm balding less. So that's always nice just because of the way the hair lies.
If that's what you take out of it, I don't see that, but that makes you feel better. It's a win for you.
It's, that's the goal. Just always
Great.
make yourself feel a little bit better after that haircut. You got to do it
self-care.
for you. Self-care. Yeah, it's funny. Like, I let my hair get long and people will ask like, yeah, like, why don't you just like get a haircut? And it's like, I don't take good care of myself. Like, what do you want me to say?
Wait, so how long do we go here for haircuts? Because I'm a 2-3 weeks guy. I try to keep it a little tighter on the sides.
Pennie, like, I'd probably gone 2 months since I'd gotten a haircut.
Yeah,
like,
I just grow up. I grow like a helmet on the top of my head. And when I was a senior, 5th-year senior at UMass, we kind of had a dirty man competition of who could like grow their hair the longest. And mine just grew kind of like in weird patterns and shapes. I think I won, but I don't know if I really won because it looked bad. Also incredible. You look back at the photos now, it's like, what was I thinking? Or I knew exactly what I was thinking. But
is this prior to you meeting your current wife?
Yeah. Or like I actually that we got knocked out of the NIT finals late March, early April. I think I got a haircut like the next day. And I met her like 3 weeks later. So it was. Yeah.
That's
it was a nice trademark. I had weird hair and I wore tall socks. That was my and I got very excited at the end of the bench. Those were my tells. Those were my my go-to moves.
What a bit. I love it. Okay. So we have a lot of topics here to talk about. We're going to start real quick on this report about the Ben Simmons, James Harden, like rumors that are happening. Then we're going to go to Shaedon Sharpe and that report, which is interesting. Kyle Tucker and I wrote a very detailed thing over at The Athletic, kind of explaining the situation about it. And then we're going to talk about hashtag Pennie field trip. So Matt Pennie over the weekend took a little trip across Kentucky Auburn. He went to the G League Ignite game against the College Park Skyhawks.
Yeah.
And he went down to scout the OTE kids. So hashtag Pennie field trip. We're going to make it a thing. So go to twitter.com and tag him and say hashtag Pennie field trip.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of rousing responses, I'm sure.
We are then going to go to Mailbag, Prospects of the Week. New segment, what random movie did Sam find on TV this week while in Australia trying to find sports on TV? And then we're going to talk about Yellowjackets. Okay, so big show. Let's start with the Ben Simmons, James Harden thing, which I find interesting for a number of reasons. How much of this is posturing? Look, we're like 2 weeks out from the deadline, and I think that a lot of what we've seen over the last few days is teams saying, hey, we don't love the offers yet. We would like, guys to come forward with their best offer within the next 2 weeks. Like Houston was the prime example of this. Like our Kelly Eco at the website reported that Houston is threatening to keep Eric Gordon. And it's just like, why? He has 2 years left on his deal, theoretically 3 if they want to keep him for that 3rd year because his contract is non-guaranteed for the 3rd year. But like, you're not competing for a title next year. This is the highest his stock is ever going to be. Eric Gordon's a player that generally has some real injury concerns. So like, what are we doing here? Like you got to move that guy at the deadline this year. And the most interesting report came from Shams Charania and Sam Amick at the website. And I find it fascinating that their sources are telling them that Daryl Morey is trying to hold out to try and get James Harden, essentially, from the Brooklyn Nets in a deal with Ben Simmons. And obviously that deal won't happen this year. Like there's just no way that the Brooklyn Nets are going to move James Harden at the deadline when Kyrie Irving's situation is so tenuous and Kevin Durant is out for the next theoretically, potentially 4 weeks. And they really need Harden to like be there.
Score.
So yeah, I just, I get that we're at a point where Daryl Morey wants James Harden, has worked with him extensively in the past. James Harden, you're not getting him this year when Joel Embiid is currently the best player in the NBA. Like there is no player who is playing better at this current moment in the NBA outside of maybe Giannis. And you're not getting James Harden for this season. You'd be acquiring him in the summer when you have to pay him a substantial amount of money because he has a player option for next season that he'll have to exercise or decline, and can sign an extension off of that player option, or can decline it and sign with a new team or do whatever. Right. So James Harden by August of this year will turn 33. Are we really gonna, like, is Philadelphia really gonna mortgage Ben Simmons and its future for James Harden? Good as James Harden is, like, I don't mean disrespect, but like the cracks are showing a little bit with Harden here. He's been really good over the course of the last, let's say 4, 5, 6 weeks, basically since he got back from his little sabbatical in mid-December. I believe he was on the COVID list. He's averaged like 26 points and 11 rebounds, but the efficiency is starting to wane a little bit. And he doesn't seem to be quite as effective as he's been in the past. I just don't love the idea of waiting for James Harden when you have Joel Embiid, who is this good right now. How do you feel about this, Pennie? Like, this whole thing is a bit weird to me.
Couple pieces to it. The first is, how long is the staring contest going to go on between Daryl Morey and Ben Simmons? And if you think, and most people do, and I agree with you, that Joel Embiid is playing the best basketball in the NBA right now, wouldn't you want to get the best asset next to him to kind of be the Batman to Robin? Whereas you have Robin sitting on the bench for half the year, and now you're going to do it the rest of the way. So how do you kind of navigate that space too? I know he's getting a little bit older, but if that's the best piece you can get back for Ben Simmons, do you pull the trigger on it when you can? I mean, Joel Embiid's not getting any younger either. Do you try to strike while the iron's hot? And because, like, what other options are there out there? I found it also fascinating, like reading this morning, that James Harden didn't like the weather in Brooklyn, but like maybe Philadelphia would be different. It's like, hey man, it's all the same. It stinks. Like I hate to say it. And then where's kind of James Harden head at? Does he want to chase a ring here, like he kind of thought Brooklyn would be, and still could be at full strength, right? Does he want to go to Philadelphia and play next to Joel Embiid? Does he want to go back to the West Coast and just take 26 shots a night and be content averaging 34 points per game and back to his like really high usage, dribbling off the clock and shooting with 2 seconds every possession? I don't know. I can't crawl into his brain. So that's why it's hard to kind of figure out how this all works for all parties involved.
Yeah, and on top of that, like James Harden's contract that he would sign would exceed Ben Simmons's. So Philadelphia would have to attach other things onto Ben Simmons to acquire James Harden, like be it Seth Curry or something. But Seth Curry's not nothing. Like he's a valuable player. And again, like there's no way Brooklyn is doing this before the deadline. Like I'd be blown away if they did that, just given their situation. Like they are competing for a title. If I was Kevin Durant, I would have a meltdown if they traded James Harden before the deadline. So I can't imagine that they're going to do that. This would purely be an offseason move. So you're wasting what is the best season of Joel Embiid's prime, a player that, has dealt with injuries and is 7'2" and enormous. And we have concerns about his durability long-term. I don't love the idea of them waiting for a 33-year-old James Harden as their savior to put next to Joel Embiid do we think that they win a title while navigating like how to play together in the first year? Probably not. So you're moving to 34-year-old James Harden. I feel like the timeline in the window gets too short if you go and get James Harden, essentially. And on top of that, you're wasting this year of Joel Embiid because they're not winning a title unless they do something with Ben Simmons. In my opinion,
absolutely.
As good as Joel Embiid is, they're probably not winning a title unless they do something. So
but what is the something? It has to, like, I'd rather have James Harden than nothing. I'd rather have James Harden than Ben Simmons sit on the bench where kind of keep on doing this dance forever. Like, who is the piece that's attainable that you think you could reasonably trade Ben Simmons for right now? If it's not James Harden, that's okay. But like, is Ben Simmons not going to play the whole year? Like, what's the Vegas odds on him being traded versus him continuing to sit?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Daryl Morey is I think sending out signals. Like when Daryl Morey says, "Hey, I really don't think I want to move Ben Simmons," as much as anything, I think he's kind of priming the fan base that they might take him past the deadline. I don't think that they necessarily would prefer that. Like, I think they would love to get like a Godfather offer from the Sacramento Kings involving Tyrese Halliburton and Harrison Barnes and Buddy Hield, right? I think they'd love to get a Godfather offer from Atlanta, but if that offer doesn't come, I think Daryl Morey is like priming the fan base to say, look, we might keep this guy past the deadline. And I don't know. It's hard. Like I get where Daryl Morey comes from. I don't think he's wrong to value Ben Simmons as an elite asset in the NBA. I love Ben Simmons. Like, I think he's awesome. It's just, it's a real, he's, kind of running a fine line here because Joel Embiid is so good right now. He's so good right now that I just can't imagine not going to get that guy help given his injury past and not knowing how this is going to go long term, essentially.
And then the other side of it, I actually would like Ben Simmons fit in Brooklyn. You don't want to score, you don't want to shoot in the games, great. Kevin Durant and Kyrie have no problem doing that for you. Like he's a good complementary piece that will still rise up the level of play too, defensively, moving the ball late, kind of be that positional mismatch on both sides of the court. That piece of it works. Now, does Harden work in Philadelphia? You're kind of selling out a little bit to what you're saying for right here, right now, and we don't really know long term or the next season or two what James Harden's going to look like.
Well, here's the other thing too that is weird about the James Harden Joel Embiid fit. James Harden loves to kind of pound the ball into the ground and loves to run ball screens, particularly. Like, he needs a ball screen to be at his utmost effectiveness. This isn't to say Joel Embiid can't be a great ball screen partner with James Harden, but like, that's not really what Joel Embiid does. Yeah. Like, it's not his game, really. Like, he's a mid-post guy. He's a face-up guy. He's a post-up guy whenever he has a mismatch, right? Like, I even don't love the schematic fit on the court. And it doesn't surprise me that Daryl Morey is going to, would prefer to go down this route either, because in general, Daryl Morey has taken a, stars and minimums approach to roster building, right? Mm-hmm. Like, he thinks that the biggest marginal inefficiencies in the NBA basically are the best players, because there's a salary maximum that you can pay, and those best players drastically exceed what they are paid in terms of value. And then the minimum guys who you can sign and get reasonable, approximation of value for players that you're paying potentially $5 million. If you get those signings right, they just tend to be higher variance signings. So I understand what Daryl Morey and his philosophy is. I understand the idea. I just disagree with this one, I guess, is where I'm at. Like, I really firmly disagree with him if he takes takes Ben Simmons into this offseason and then tries to move him for James Harden. And maybe, he's leaking these things. Maybe people around him are leaking these things. That was my next point.
How much of this smoke to drive up either the cost or drive up the panic from teams like maybe Sacramento or Atlanta to say, hey, we got to move fast because he's about to move somebody else to get another piece. Yep. Could be that. He's played chess this whole time, not checkers. So I wouldn't put it past him either. This is just kind of like the Citizens Bank past in the departed and trying to just throw everybody off of what he's actually planning to do. He's smart. He started the Sloan Sports Conference. This is not his first rodeo. So I think he knows deep down what the direction he's going to take.
I think it's that. And I think, again, like he might if they don't get an offer, he might take them into the offseason, or take Ben into the offseason, and might want to prime the fan base for that, because I cannot imagine that the Philadelphia fan base long known for its rational,
being so understanding,
calmness.
Yeah, booing
would
Santa
be
Claus.
would be super pleased if Ben Simmons is still on this roster come like February 15th or whatever. So we'll see. Just found that report bizarre and wanted to talk about it a little bit. Let's move on to another report that I found a little bit bizarre. The Shaedon Sharpe report definitely caught me by surprise in terms of, look, when did you learn initially that Shaedon Sharpe could be eligible for the NBA draft?
I'm not trying to be a hardo here, but months ago.
No, I know. Yeah.
Because it was, how do I put this? It was like the worst kept and best kept secret down there. Like all the media people kind of knew. Nobody wanted to speak up and really put it on record or do anything like that. But like those rumblings were there just based on the timeline of his quote unquote graduation and age and him. There's not a lot of guys who go to school early with the intention of then staying. So when he said he was enrolling in January, people started grumbling behind the scenes saying, maybe this is a thing for him to try to get eligible to be passed through. So I was taken aback at kind of the timing of when it rolled out, but not necessarily the announcement.
Yeah. So I'd kind of been told that this could be a thing in December.
Right.
And I've kind of not ranked Shaedon Sharpe for the reason that he has said like he's going to Kentucky for the second year. Kyle Tucker, in the story that I wrote with Kyle Tucker, he talked to Shaedon Sharpe's mom, and Shaedon Sharpe's mom said, "Hey, our plan is to," or asked a very pointed question about staying in Kentucky for a second season, and she said, "Yep, that's the plan."
Right.
So that's still his plan. Additionally, I've gotten enough like questions from NBA scouts and like executives and people about what the timeline actually is in terms of his graduation. Kyle, in the story that we wrote, talked to Kyle Weaver, who was his coach in Arizona this past year. Kyle Weaver told Kyle Tucker that the Shaedon finished his classes in the summer.
High school classes.
Finished
right.
his high school classes in the summer.
So it's technically a post-grad playing this last season at Dream City to start the year, because he played the season before he enrolled at Kentucky. He started and played a few games.
So did he graduate? Was he a post-grad? Like, is that
could be.
how he was designated?
I don't know. I'm not a transcript master, but he could be. There's a lot of guys that do that, that do graduate and play their fifth year, and you don't have to technically finish that year of quote unquote school because you have your diploma. So the season ends and then you go home or you enroll in college or whatever that may be. So there is some murkiness about his kind of quote timeline of eligibility too. It's tough because this is how I look at it with the announcement that he made, right? And we've kind of been all over the place on draft boards and where to place him. Just how hesitant are you even to put him anywhere, like anywhere in the top 10? Because somebody tweeted this. I think it was Stephen Gillespie. I can't remember, but he kind of said, like, if we just went off numbers alone, what would Jaden Hardy have been prior to this season? We probably would have put him fifth, right? But it's true because it's hard for Shaedon, who a year and a half ago, this was an outside the top 100 kid. All right, and he's gotten a lot better. He put in a ton of work. He started Sunrise Christian. He transferred to Dream City. He had this enormous blow up last season. He was great on the UIBL. It was the COVID year, so not a lot of people saw him. And then when scouts and people actually got back in the gym, it was like, holy smokes, like this is a thing. Because he has a great body. He has a great frame. He gets up and down the court. He can fly off the ground. He has the runway to do it. And then he started shooting it a lot better, like sidestep threes, step back threes, pulling up in transition. So it does pass the initial look test, but I'm not ready to say if he comes out and doesn't play games, he's going to be top 5 pick, because not even just Jaden Hardy. Think the guys from last draft that we had in the top 5 in the preseason before we saw him play a college game: BJ Boston, Jalen Johnson, Xavier Williams. Those guys have all taken kind of unconditional pass, and some of them have already figured it out. But then we saw him play a few college games. It wasn't the same guy we saw in high school, right? So Shaedon Sharpe could be that good. I really hope anyway, from like a scout's perspective, that he plays in games whether it's this year or next year, because I'm all for kids, if they want to come out of high school, they should have that ability to do it. But as an evaluator, it's a lot easier for me to say how he's going to project if he plays at that next level before the NBA. Unless you're a total freak show who's like 6'9", LeBron James, like Kevin Garnett, yeah, it's going to work. But for the majority of the rest of the guys who could still be the highest level superstars, I don't want to sign off on it until I see a little bit more.
Yeah. And before we get into the scouting, because I have a take on the whole Jaden Hardy thing.
Yeah, I got a feel.
Yeah. The eligibility thing, the report from John Gavoni, who, look, I'm sure John has some sort of inclination here that Shaedon Sharpe is going to be eligible, because John's really good at this, right? Like I don't, I certainly don't mean to cast shots at John when I say this, but there is a difference in terms of like reporting Shaedon Sharpe is eligible for the 2022 draft and what John actually reported, which is Shaedon Sharpe can apply for the 2022 NBA draft. And the reason for that designation is that Shaedon Sharpe has not applied for the NBA draft, and the NBA itself does not actually look into these transcripts, into draft eligibility from players with these like murky questions regarding, their situations until a player actually applies for the draft. Because, again, Shaedon Sharpe, his mom literally told Kyle Tucker that the plan is still to go to Kentucky next year, right?
Yeah.
So there's not really a reason for the NBA to look into this yet, right?
Not yet.
If he applies, the NBA will look into it, and there will be a robust, figuring out of the transcript situation of everything, right?
Right.
In terms of his scouting, I cannot see a world where he gets out of the top 10. I just can't. Look, he might not go in the top 5. I cannot see a world where if he does not play a minute of basketball at Kentucky, that he doesn't go in the top 10.
And the crazy part about it is for people that are around him and know him, if you get him, and his agents will be smart. I have no idea whose reputation is. They'll get him in 1-0 workouts, and he'll fly into cities and work out. And he's going to test like a freak. Like, he's going to jump out of the building. He's going to shoot it really well in an empty gym. I had somebody ask me, how do you look in warm-ups for against Auburn? I don't great. I don't know. How do you and I look in warm-ups? So we look fantastic, right? Nobody's guarding us. You can go up, do some crazy dunks, do step throughs. He'll hit some weird threes. He's got a great body. He's going to be in even better shape when he's working out there. So I get your reasoning of he's not getting outside the top 10. But if I'm in the top 10 as an NBA team, I need production for the most part. I kind of need some help. If I'm a general manager, I'm just scared for a guy who hasn't played a college game to draft him. Whereas overseas guys, they play higher levels of A and B divisions. College guys play the best of the best. G League Ignite, they're playing against pros. Guys are filtering in and out if you're good enough, bad enough. But if Shaedon Sharpe doesn't play, I get he'll be outside the top 10. I don't say buyer beware, but just do your research. It's a long process. He's been this tier of talent for not that long. Everyone says he's a worker. I get the physical tools. I get the self-creation. It's the type of archetype that NBA guys search for. But it's
correct.
It's not an exact thing. It's not an exact thing where he's in, and I had 5 or 6 people text me, right, where do you have him on your board? I don't know. I don't even know where to slot him in right now.
So here's what I would say to that. Part of why he is so highly thought of is in regard to the scouting. He is exactly what evaluators are looking for the NBA. He is 6'6". He has long arms. He's explosive as hell. And particularly, he can get to his pull-up game at a very high level. I believe that I can't pull up the numbers for whatever reason, because the Athletic website is being a bit funky for me right now. Okay. But I believe, led Peach Jam in pull-up scoring and did so on very high level efficiency in terms of pull-up.
And he was over 40% from 3. He was 43% or something like that during the Peach Jam. Again, a small sample, but it shows kind of where he was as a kid who wasn't playing. Has a breakout season, the grind session out in Arizona with Dream City. gets on the EYBL and backs up all the other stuff. So like there is like signs of that trajectory that he's on.
And on top of that, he also finished at an elite level. Like he finished at the basket in half court settings at the same level Kyle Filipowski did, who is going to Duke as a 6'11" center who is immensely skilled. Pennie knows Kyle Filipowski's game well, having been in the Boston, New England area, let's say.
Yeah, seen him plenty of times live.
Right. And Kyle Filipowski, very, very gifted high school basketball center.
Yeah,
he's also a good defender. Like Shaedon Sharpe is a good on-ball defender when he's engaged. He plays hard. I have no fucking idea what he's going to look like off the ball. Like, let's just be real about it. We just don't know because he's not been asked to do that. But all of these tools are what NBA teams look for. High-level pull-up shooting, which is something that Jaden Hardy has never been great at in terms of efficiency. He's always gotten to the shots well, but he's never knocked them down at a level that goes beyond volume scorer.
Yes.
Jaden Hardy has never defended like Shaedon Sharpe defends. Correct?
No.
And can't finish at the level Shaedon Sharpe does. Like, I think Shaedon Sharpe is a drastically better prospect than Jaden Hardy. But again, I'm someone who had Jaden Hardy at like 10 coming into the year.
But
so
that's
like
the point.
I was
but that's the point though. Like he would be 10th, right? Maybe Shaedon Sharpe would have been 5th. Hardy would be 10th. But then they played, and now Hardy, I think for us, and people could yell at us, more like the 20-ish range. Like he went down 10 spots.
Yeah.
So if Sharpe is that, I don't know if it's going to be as inefficient as Jaden Hardy has been, but if he plays, and like there was a time in the Kentucky-Auburn game where Ty Washington is out, Xavier Wheeler gets destroyed by a screen, and you wonder, I was waiting for Kyle Party to look down the end of the bench, give the Shaedon Sharpe signal, pull off the sweats, and he's in. But we didn't have that. We didn't have that luxury. So like we still just don't know.
But there's just no way. Because like here's the other thing.
There should be no way. But he was in street. He was not in street clothes. He was in Kentucky warm up. So he might have done the thing where he takes off the warm up and he had like a t-shirt on and not his jersey yet. But he looked the part. I will give him that.
So like here's the other thing. Kyle Tucker, his sources around Kentucky, talked to the sources around Kentucky. Prior to that game, Shaedon Sharpe had not gone through like a full speed practice from what we gathered.
Yep.
Had largely just done walkthroughs, was getting acclimated to Lexington, was getting acclimated to college, everything like that. It would have been like blatantly irresponsible to put Shaedon Sharpe in that game.
I don't even
in Auburn.
I don't even think that's the term. It was a loony bin. It was a madhouse on steroids. I tweeted about it. It was a party disguised in an SC basketball game. If that was your first taste of college basketball, I don't care what level of prospect you are. I don't care where you are as draft boards. That was intimidating, man. It was. I was a fan and I was intimidated. Like I can't imagine being on the floor and actually playing.
No, absolutely not. So there was just no way he was going to put him in there. What this comes down to for me is if Shaedon Sharpe is going to go to the 2022 NBA draft, there's no way he should play. There's just no way. There's no
I agree. No benefit to playing.
To him playing. We've seen this with James Wiseman. We've seen it with other players like this. Anthony Simons went in the first round. Thon Maker went top 10. Like scouts are willing to let these guys not play and take the gamble. On top of that, here is the biggest, if he is, before we get to that, if he is planning on going back to Kentucky for next year, I think it would be valuable for him to play. Like get acclimated to college.
Yeah.
Know, figure out everything, right? Like it'd be really good. So here's the thing. The 2022 NBA draft. I'm going to read you names.
Oh boy.
Would you take Shaedon Sharpe?
I'm always bad at this. I think we did this last time post-tournament. Johnny Juzang, I ended up taking him 25th. So go ahead, fire.
Would you take Shaedon Sharpe or Patrick Baldwin?
Pass.
It's not. That's not a hard question.
You want me to say Shaedon Sharpe? I get it. Shaedon Sharpe. Okay. I'm higher on Ball than most. I still have him like 10th or 11th, but Shaedon Sharpe. So that's probably your answer. Like you don't have to say another name. So he's going 9th. At worst for me.
Would you take Kendall Brown or Shaedon Sharpe?
No, I take Shaedon Sharpe.
Yep. Would you take Jalen Duren or
no,
Shaedon
I take
Sharpe?
Shaedon Sharpe. Yeah. Not a huge turn.
Would you take Ty Washington or Shaedon Sharpe?
That's, you know that answer. Shaedon Sharpe.
Yeah, I do. Would you take Blake Wesley or Shaedon Sharpe?
I think I still go, as much as I've waved the Blake Wesley flag and driven that train. I think I would go Shaedon Sharpe.
Right. Would you take AJ Griffin or Shaedon Sharpe?
Shaedon Sharpe. But you're listing for me. You're listing like 10. You're listing like 10 through 16 for me.
Right. So
the one is like, would I take like Keegan Murray or Shaedon Sharpe? That's
right.
The one where it's
that's
like,
where I was getting next.
All right.
Would you take Ben Mathurin or Shaedon Sharpe?
Yeah, probably Shaedon Sharpe. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
this
because
is like you're painting me at a corner. Like there's no way for me to get out of this thing. I get it. I understand, but it doesn't mean I can't be like scared out of my mind.
Oh, right? I am too.
Like Ben Mathurin. We got a couple seasons of tape. I don't know if he can self-create. I have no idea. He's great coming off screens. Right. I don't know if he can do anything in the mid-range. No clue. But we've got like 60 games plus NBA Global Academy plus high school stuff. Shaedon Sharpe. We have Dream City Christian tape. We have EYBL, we have Midwest Mania with Made Hoops. It's not the same. It's not the same barometer. Like if he does this in the SEC and comes out with like Ochai Agbaji had a great game last night. And we've kind of called this all year since the Champions Classic, whatever. But it's like you had the progression. You saw the good, the bad, and you saw where this is going. If Shaedon Sharpe comes out next year and has 3 games where he's absolutely dominant, we say, yeah, great. We're going to slot him 5th. There's Victor Wembanyama. There's Scoot Henderson. There's the Thompsons. There's him. Fine. No problem doing that. But it's really, really like shakes me to my core that I'm going to take a kid 5th who I just don't even know how it works in the structure of a college game or a G League game right here, right now.
I totally get that. I'm with you. I could not agree with you more. It is an enormous risk. It's an enormous like high variance situation. Here's the thing. If Ben Mathurin hits, what do we think Ben Mathurin is?
Right.
Like a top 75 player in the league?
Yeah. If Shaedon Sharpe hits, he's going to be an all-star. That's the thing. But does he hit? I don't know. All right, I'm going to throw another one at you. If he didn't play in college, where does Emoni Bates get drafted? He didn't play at Memphis. If he was draft eligible.
Oh.
He's not getting out of top 7. There's no way. No way.
If he wouldn't have played at Memphis.
Let's just say Emoni was in this situation, right? He didn't play the season at all at Memphis. He was just draft eligible. He's on the bench going to draft. I don't think he gets outside of 7. If you had to draft him right now, you'd probably be talking late first round at best. And I'm trying to be fair here because he struggled, right? And then he played basketball and in a good league and saw different defenses and coverages, and that's why I'm hesitant. Like this guy was supposed to be everything. He could still get there, but even like a lot of media people are tempering expectations now, saying we gave him too much. He's got to build back up. He still has his strong suits, so that's why like I put Shaedon Sharpe in that bucket, not because I think they're the same skill wise or that was what was thought of them, but there needs to be proof. There needs to be tape. He could be awesome. He could be an all-star. He could not be a guy that starts. Who knows? It's the great unknown, as we call it.
So like I get the point with Emoni, but you're also talking to someone who like 2 years ago did a podcast with our good friend Brian Snow, who now works at Penn State, obviously. And shout out Brian Snow. But Snow? Like I laid out all of my concerns with Emoni Bates then.
That was the podcast before I came on. I was on like an elliptical machine, like listening to it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm getting into here. This guy is though I did agree with you. I was like, this is a little counterculture to the basketball world that's going outside around me.
So like from a tools perspective, the problem was just from a tools perspective with Emoni, right? Like great pull-up shooter, but he's 6'9" with a 6'9" wingspan. And that's always been the case. Right. And he's exceptionally skinny and doesn't have a great frame. Shaedon Sharpe doesn't really have those physical limitations that Emoni Bates does, which I think is going to make it even easier to sell to NBA teams that this could work. I guess that's kind of just where I'm at on this. Like, I think it's I think Shaedon Sharpe is a different situation than like Hamidou Diallo, than Emoni Bates, than Jaden Hardy. Certainly. Look, like I've just never gotten that totally, I guess. So like, it's hard for me to have that conversation. I know that there are people who really like Jaden Hardy and liked him coming into the year. I just like wasn't totally there. But we'll see. We'll see with Shaedon Sharpe. I will be fascinated to see if Kentucky plays him. It certainly seems like that language is softening. I think that John Calipari may have said yesterday, like, if he's ready and I feel like he's ready, I'll put him in.
Yeah, and I give credit to Coach Calipari too, because he said post game, because that was one of the first questions that reporters asked, because Kentucky played a really good first half. They're taking care of the ball. They were slowing down Auburn well. They hit some injuries. You need some guards. They didn't have a lot of creators. Shaedon Sharpe creates, and Coach Calipari said he wasn't ready. I promised it to his family. I promised it to him, the people around him. I wasn't going to put him in if he wasn't ready. If we have to lose on the road a game against a team that's now number one in the country, so be it. But his progression is more important to me than winning a single game.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to go from Shaedon Sharpe to that hashtag Pennie field trip, baby.
Field trip.
Where we're going to Kentucky and Auburn. We'll be right back. Okay, so while we've been recording,
What'd I miss?
So according to Pat Forty at Sports Illustrated, men's basketball coach at Louisville, Chris Mack, his future at Louisville is being discussed by school leadership and could result in a change, but nothing has been finalized as of now. Trustees and athletics board meeting tomorrow. Mack radio show canceled. That's a bad report for someone looking to keep their job.
Not great. The radio show gets canceled. That's the real writing on the wall.
Yeah. I don't know. Do we want to?
No.
This is going.
Let it happen. Can we just let it happen first?
Yeah. I mean, look, this is going that way. Let's maybe
table it.
I don't know. Let's maybe wait until next week.
Oh, let's do that. That sounds good. This is an NBA draft podcast.
Let's wait until next week, maybe, on the Chris Mack stuff, and we'll do a post-mortem on why this has failed so spectacularly. But we'll wait until then. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. Okay. Kentucky Auburn hashtag Pennie field trip. You did G League Ignite, then Kentucky Auburn, then OTE first.
Correct.
Let's do Kentucky Auburn first, because I know, and this is going to be your show here. We're handing off the reins, baby. This is a Matt Pennie experience. I want to hear.
I need some moderation, though. I need you to at least guide me in the right direction. I can wax.
I'll explain if we start going too deep.
Okay.
So Kentucky Auburn, you texted me when you got to the game, and you were like, I made a mistake not going to an SEC school.
UMass Twitter, please earmuffs it. The people on UMass Twitter are very passionate about UMass, and I am too. Unbelievable experience. I'd say no regrets, but my regret is not going to the SEC, because I got there at 10 in the morning, 11 in the morning. I don't know. You have to time change driving from Atlanta. So I get to Auburn. I go downtown. It's a college town. I'm just walking around. I get to a restaurant at 11 in the morning. I had a piece of salmon and a soft drink. It cost me $15. I said, I love this place. Yeah, in Boston, that's what the side dressing costs. And then I get there and I walk up to the arena, and there's tents everywhere. All students had camped out, and I don't know, I'd say half hour, 45 minutes before game time, it was packed. I mean, it was jammed to the gills. It was standing room only. I had a seat in the last row of the lower bowl with my back up against the crowd, I guess. And there's standing room only, people right behind, barking the whole game. So it was quite the scene. I've been to SEC games. I saw LSU football. I've been to Florida. I've been around, but I know it had a different feel, as this is a team that felt slighted. They weren't number one in the country. They have the evil empire of Kentucky coming to town, and Kentucky always gets everybody's Super Bowl every single game. They do.
Yep.
And they showed up. The Auburn fans just showed up in droves, and it was a madhouse, absolute madhouse. It got so loud on made baskets that on either side, there's no way they were able to communicate schemes or offenses or set calls. It was just playing basketball.
Okay, so let's dive into the prospect stuff. Jabari Smith, you've now seen Jabari Smith live in college.
Yes.
You've already seen him many times in high school, but let's dive deep into what you saw from Jabari Smith here.
Jabari Smith is the number one pick in the draft. I love Chet Holmgren. I've been close with those two guys. I think the Alabama game is really when we saw it on both ends from Jabari. Like this is a different tier level of prospect. With Jabari in this game, it was the effortless shooting mechanics are one thing, but the release is so high that even when a guy closes out and challenges, he's getting a shot off over the top of you. And his balance and footwork is so good that when he incorporates that jab step and gets just like a little bit of space and he's feeling it, like forget about it. Like he's going to hit that, knock down the shot and do even more, I think, in time. Like the Auburn fans behind me were screaming at him every time he touched the ball, like, shoot it, stop passing it. Like the first half, people were texting me, tweeting at me saying, can you get Bruce Pearl to get Jabari Smith more touches? Because when he touches the ball, good things happen. And they used him a lot on sort of those dribble handoff sets, or they'd like clear it aside. He'd do like that ghost screen action, then have a whole side. When the NBA court gets bigger and he's able to shoot more and show those skills and tightens up the drives a little bit, he could still get stripped when he puts the ball on the ground. But I was enthused as a prospect because of everything he does. There's still like these kind of missing pieces where like he's in the right position. He has a mean streak to get rebounds, but just like he's bumped off his base a little bit. Like you put a few more pounds of muscle like on his lower half and he's able to hold his ground. His rebounds are going to go up. He's going to score more comfortably in the post. But the way the guy plays and shoots and does it within the flow of the offense, and they can grab and go full court and catch dunks and pick and roll. He's a spectacular prospect.
Yeah, I mean, he had like a series of 3 plays in the first half where he attacked a closeout with like a 2 dribble pound dribble to the like elbow / like foul line, pump faked Keon Brooks. Keon Brooks flew by.
Oh yeah, that was the pump. He flies by and then hits the jumper. Yeah, ridiculous.
Hits the jumper.
Yeah.
Then like 2 possessions later, comes down, catches the ball on the right wing again, takes 1 dribble, step back, pull up over the top of like 2 extended hands, like in his face, off balance, like just totally ridiculous. And then the third thing was he catches jab steps from the left wing, like right before the end of the first half. Keon Brooks like kind of takes that minor step back. He recognizes that he has the area to shoot and then just knocks it down right in Keon's face again, contested. It's just like, what the fuck?
Forget about it. Yeah.
Like the jump shot it's such a weapon. It's so ridiculous. I will say like that game did accentuate, I think, some of the questions I have about him as a half-court ball handler.
Sure.
I don't think that he is capable of taking, like, I don't think he's capable of like ball handling in a phone booth. Right.
No,
like I just don't think he's there yet.
I think he turned it over the first play of the game, I think, with that. Turn his back, put the ball down as a turnover. It's like that's what's haunted him since I remember that play against UConn at the battle for Atlantis. Like he's been doing that sort of for a while. That piece hasn't developed.
And that's okay. Like we're being nitpicky.
Very nitpicky on a player we think is 1 and his floor is 2 in the draft. So it's just kind of nitpicking a guy who's going to be really special, but what level is how much the rest of can round out to kind of get him there.
Okay. Time for a new segment on the show. This was, do you remember who suggested this? I don't remember off the top of my head.
I saw it and I was kind of hoping that you didn't see it, but you texted me like immediately. I'm like, I am bound by this now.
It's beautiful. It's such a good idea. Please add us on Twitter.
No.
Pennie will see it because he doesn't have his notifications muted. I might see it. We'll see. But please, and we'll shout you out on the next podcast. Whoever sent us this, because it's a great idea. So it's Pennie's Primo Prospect of the Week. It's the Triple Ps. Obviously a joke on Matt Pennie's love of Josh Primo. And we're going to talk here about someone in this game. Pennie's Primo Prospect.
In the Primo Prospect, the way that we're interpreting that is a little bit undervalued, right? Like not necessarily a consensus top 20-ish guy. Yeah. Little bit
might even be a pre-draft guy.
I like that pre-draft, which is good because we have about 25 weeks till the draft. So if I miss on 23 of them, I'll just circle back to the wins, retweet it, and say like, yeah, told you. Here's the
might be a bi-weekly segment. We'll see.
I hope so. My guy's Walker Kessler. He was fantastic. Walker Kessler, I loved out of high school. He was like a top 10-ish recruit, went to North Carolina. I didn't love the fit. I didn't think he looked like himself last year. And he had sort of this 2 to 3 week stretch where it was like, that's the Walker Kessler. He's rebounding. He shot like 70% from the field. It was a very crowded front court at North Carolina. He hits the transfer market. He says he's going to Auburn. And I didn't know if the fit would work because the way Auburn plays with their guards, and it's different this year, but with Wendell Green and with KD Johnson, it's very frantic pace, and they press, and they run. I'm like, I don't know how Walker Kessler is going to do this and how he's going to fit. He's just embodied what Bruce Pearl wants as a 5-man. He protects the rim. He's top 3, if I don't think he's first right now, in block shots. He's right there nationally. So he's an eraser by the rim. He rebounds, secures the ball, outlets, and then he runs. If the point guards then slow it down, he was killing Kentucky with high ball screens. Xavier Wheeler got hit with a legal absolute body blow, and Oscar Tshiebwe, you got to call it your screens. I know people said that forever, but he sets these big screens. He rolls. The tag man wasn't hitting him. He was just kind of like all alone. So they would throw it by the rim. He's got really good hands. He would just like tap it in and dunk it. The thing,
I don't mean disrespect to Xavier Wheeler necessarily, but like most of Kessler's points came as a result of Wheeler either not getting screens called out for him, not navigating the screen well, or in the first half, particularly near the end of the first half, Auburn ran 2 or 3 straight sets that I sent you a photo of where they particularly put KD Johnson in the corner, ran like an Alan Flanagan ball screen, and emptied out one side of the court, and were essentially putting pressure on Xavier Wheeler to remember to tag Walker Kessler on the backside. And he just like didn't do it. And that's why Kessler kept getting these wide open dunks. So, I mean, you know, Kentucky needs to work with Xavier Wheeler on that side of like off-ball defense. He's a very aggressive point of attack defender. He's not like a useless defender. I don't mean that necessarily. It's just that they need to work with him on on like team defensive schemes, I think.
And the NBA scouts I've talked to too, they're impressed by the improved mobility of Walker Kessler. They're impressed by how he's getting up and down the court. Obviously the hands, finishes out of the dunker spot, rebounds. The thing that will unlock it all is he was like a trailing shooting big in high school. He would still do everything else, but he had a reputation to shoot. He's I don't have it right in front of me. I think he's like 4 for 27 from 3 this year, like 18%. Yep. That's not who he is. Like if he gets the volume up, the shot's okay. It's a little bit off the right shoulder. It's a little hitchy. But if he gets back to that high school guy with the interior development and the mean streak that he has, with the length, with the soft hands, he's better than, I think I have him at like 38 right now. He's better than that. He should be end of the first round for, I would say, almost anybody. I don't know if his aspirations, if he's going to declare whatever, but a guy that I don't think I've taken seriously enough as a potential prospect for this year's draft that could make an impact potentially as like a 5th starter. They don't run anything for him. They'll hit him in the high post, and he's a pretty good interior passer, but they don't run like straight up post plays for him. But he made his impact felt almost every possession that he's on the court.
So I'll be honest. I think Walker Kessler has been the most valuable player in the SEC during conference play so far this year. You look at his numbers. He didn't start super well in non-conference play.
Right.
Like I don't think that, given that like half of the season, you know, has been non-conference play, or like a third of the season has been non-conference play, I don't know that there's like a case for him as an All-American yet, but it's coming. Since December 14th, Walker Kessler has averaged 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 blocks while shooting 73% from the field.
Oh yeah, he doesn't miss by the rim. He doesn't. Like when you get it right there.
When he's on the court, the numbers are crazier in terms of like impact. When he's on the court, Auburn's defense is 9.1 possessions per, or 9.1 points per 100 possessions better than when he's off the court. In SEC play, Auburn's opponents take 5% fewer shots around the basket when he's on the court versus when he's off the court, because they don't even go in there as often. They're just not as willing to even try him. teams are shooting 47% at the basket in half-court settings when Walker Kessler is on the court. Like, it is insane what his value is. Him and Christian Coloco right now are the two best college basketball defenders in the country. Like, I don't really even see like a debate between anyone else, to be honest, at the moment. Like, Auburn is like running up and down the court, and they play like a frenetic, aggressive style where Katie Johnson is like upping guys shit and constantly like playing over aggressive, hyper aggressive. Walker Kessler is the guy that unlocks that ability.
That's totally what it is. Those guys and those guards can take those chances and bail out and dive out of plays because they know he's on the backside. And if he's not, here's Jabari Smith waiting for you too, who's also like a shot blocker.
He's a good defender as well.
Exactly. He moves his feet, can cut guys off. He can switch, and Jabari Smith's fine switching. Walker Kessler can switch and then recover and get back. Like, there was a few plays where he was screened out of the high ball screen, and he was a step behind. But his length is so long that like he would still catch up, either block the shot or alter it. When most guys, when they're beat with a step, it's like, forget about it. Somebody's got to rotate. It's a basket. It's a kick out. Here's a three in the corner. We're screwed. He still made the offense pay. And it's like, you think no one's behind you. You go up and then it goes off the backboard. It's like, I'm in trouble. That's kind of the guy I thought he would be coming out of high school. I'm glad he's starting to unlock it now.
So I'll be honest, like in the minutes he played by the end of last year at North Carolina, like, you saw a lot of this. Like,
a lot.
You saw enough not the fully
actualized, but a lot. He was better than not playing through the beginning of the year. No question. He's gotten much better. Like, he has clearly taken the summer and improved drastically. If you're North Carolina, you got some regrets, I think. Like, you got some real regrets that you played. That's wonderful.
You got some real regrets that you played Garrison Brooks 3 times as many possessions as you played Walker Kessler last year.
Yeah. Was he like preseason all first team ACC or something though? We don't all have the luxury of Trevion Williams being first team all Big Ten and then benching him. We can't all do that. We're not all Purdue.
So Garrison Brooks put up a lot of points playing next to Cole Anthony. And I think that people got real excited about him coming into the year. That doesn't mean he was.
Yeah, and look, you're going to lean on your seniors for the most part, at least early. They leaned on him a little bit longer, and then when Walker had more time and opportunity to play, he was good in flashes. He's
pretty good in flashes. I don't mean to say
I'm happy for him that now the flashes are extended. Like, he's on the floor for 8 minutes. He gets 6 minutes of flashes as opposed to maybe the 2 or 3 he'd have at North Carolina.
Yeah, like, I'm saying Walker Kessler maybe should have played 18 minutes a night as opposed to 8 minutes a night last year. I'm not saying that like he should have been like the guy at North Carolina, but maybe play a little bit more. And he ends up staying at North Carolina and you have a good team this year. Yeah. Okay. I have Walker Kessler at 31 on my board. I'm even higher than you are.
Yeah. I haven't done the update, but he'll be around there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hashtag Pennie field trip continues. Let's go G League Ignite. Let's have a G League Ignite conversation now with what you've seen. So you got to see one of Jaden Hardy's better games this year. I don't know if that's a good thing, but you got to see a positive game from Jaden Hardy. The following game, he went 0 for 11. So that's rough.
It
Continue
was, I thought it was good because I didn't have a box score during the game. The G League website, the stats actually weren't loading in real time. So I was just taking stats without really stat watching. And then if you go back after the game, Jaden Hardy had 29 points. Not that I had no idea. I thought he had like around 20 in the last few minutes he scored. Let's start positive. He can get a shot whenever he wants. He does. He has that craft off the dribble where he can create. He comes off dribble handoffs or he can pull it off. It's like 6 dribbles when it should be 3, but the kid knows how to get a shot off. When his body is square and his feet are set, he shoots a clean basketball. He does. He has high arc, a lot of rotation. He finishes high. It's hard to stop. His problem is he takes some wild ones. He's off balance. It's 1 foot. There was a play in the game. He had a wide open 3. No one was there. He hesitated, like took a step in and shot it like over 2 guys. He just doesn't necessarily process it in real time as quick as I would like him to, and he makes the game more difficult for himself, becoming that volume guy. And when he turned it on the second half, they were losing. They were down like 10 or 15, so he was just kind of like filling it up quickly. You saw a little bit of it. He got in the lane, he like pivoted, jumped opposite, finished the right, hit a couple threes.
He has good footwork and really good length around the basket.
Very good. And he wants to shoot. It's just he doesn't really make the right reads out of pick and roll. And he's an easy scout right now. You know he's shooting. You know he wants to shoot. If he passes, and some of the clips you're starting to see around Twitter of like, oh, look at this passing read. Yeah, he's triple teamed and like has to throw it in the middle of the lane. It wasn't like he did it because like, oh, here's my vision and like I looked opposite like Dyson Daniels does half the game. I just don't. He's a scorer. He is. I don't know how it looks in a team construct of an NBA where you're not going to get 18 shots a night. You're not going to come in as a rookie and get that.
Yeah.
If it's some Cam Thomas stuff, who I had at 20 last year, who's probably better than that, I think Cam's like a little bit better, even more efficient of a scorer, which is like nutty to say. But I made some missteps in my evaluation of Cam Thomas, so I still want to wait on Jaden Hardy. Like the offense is good. The defense needs work too. Like away from the ball is not good. He dies when he hits screens. Like he doesn't work to get around them. He gets some cheap fouls and reach-ins. It's not, I know people want to see the 30-point games that are better. You can see he's more confident, but I'm not totally there yet as, hey, we were off like having him 19. He should be 9th. Like, I still think that's probably like a safer range where I'd have him right now.
Yeah, I've got him like at 20 to 22, something like that. I'd be happy to take a flyer on him in the first round because I agree with you. The shot creation is real. He can get separation. It's just what happens once that separation comes.
Totally.
The decision making is bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just bad. Like there's not another way to really frame it, unfortunately, right now. Turns it over a decent amount.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he has a negative assist turnover ratio. Yep. The shot selection, it just makes him exceptionally inefficient.
Yeah.
Look, these guys, you know, as I've kind of said previously, these guys can flip the switch sometimes. And once they figure out, you know, and figure out all the reads and everything, they can become very good.
Yeah.
I think he's a couple years away from that point at this stage.
I do too. It probably has to be the right developmental system that knows what he is and squeezes out all the good stuff and pushes away all the bad.
Let's go to Dyson Daniels, MarJon Beauchamp, Michael Foster. Where do you want to go next?
Let's go Dyson Daniels because I was most impressed by watching him in person. The reason I say that is he's big. He's 6'7", 6'8". He's a big guard, so to say. And
for what it's worth, I believe I've been told he is 6'6" without shoes.
Okay, so we're in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
I think watching, I'm not trying to do a lazy comp here. I think watching Josh Giddey this year has like opened my eyes a little bit more to bigger guards that don't necessarily have the jump shot fully developed yet, because Dyson's jump shot is not great. Like it's getting there, but that's not his calling card, I guess you could say. But he knows how to use his size as a guard. Like when he gets to his move, he's very efficient at finishing over the top. The first play of the game, he hits the high post, kind of like UCLA cuts off a little bit. He had Sharif Cooper on him. It was baby food. It was an and one. Like he knew, the Ignite staff knew that's the way that he's going to be able to like get himself going. He was comfortable defensively switching on to Jalen Johnson. I think that's another asset that he can guard up the lineup, he can guard multiple positions. The feet just aren't like slow. They're just not quick. So it will be about angles and challenges and using that kind of like cerebral processing that he has. And he's really good at it with like picking out when he's going to poke it in for a steal, when he's going to cut off a guy, when he's going to jump a lane. So I liked what I saw, and also being as young as he is, it's going to take some time. But I like him as a guy kind of like later in the lottery that you hope just continues to get better as time wears on.
Yeah, I think he's the best perimeter defender I've seen this year in this 2022 draft class. Mm-hmm. You mix that with the passing, I think it's just enough in terms of a tool set that works. He'll have to work on the shot. That's going to be why he probably doesn't play immediately in the NBA. He needs to shoot it before he gets there. But once he does that, he's going to be a very effective player. Like as soon as the shooting comes, he's going to be very
and even still playable without the shooting. It's not, hey, the shooting's not there, we can't play him. He can still play. It'll be even better when the shot's a weapon. You don't have to go under, because then going under negates all the reads and the help stuff that he's able to kind of figure out too.
Yep. Okay. Now MarJon Beauchamp.
So MarJon wasn't great the game I saw. He was good. He was solid. And then the next, it wasn't the next night, I think it was 2 nights later, the Sunday, he was very good against the Long Island Nets. He had 24-9. The game I saw, the first quarter and a half, he just wasn't like super assertive, just very passive, just moving the ball, didn't pick his spots well. Then the second quarter, he hit like a pull-up jumper. He hit a trailer 3. He is very good away from the ball. He's very good finishing. He's very good cutter. But I didn't see like the, not even self-creation, but like the isolation type scoring stuff. He did try to dunk on a guy, and it would have been a poster where he hit it. He didn't. So I walked away just wanting a little bit more out of him. And then why we don't watch just one game. Then Sunday against the Long Island Nets, he was awesome. He was scoring, hitting corner jumpers, doing stuff on the move, pulling up, getting up and down.
He made like a step back at one point. And I was like, this is something you haven't done yet this year. I was like, whoa, this is interesting.
Yeah, I think you were like, it was 2 or 3 o'clock and you were waking up too. It's like, this game is different from the other night. He's quick coming off like curls and dribble handoffs too. He's just going to be this combo forward that is effective. I don't think he's ever going to be like the scorer that you need end of the game. I don't think he's going to be like the primary guy, but he's going to be a great piece on a winning team.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for the way he's gone about his business. Just a lot of respect for the way that he has improved. This was a kid that was like, he did not like attend college. He left. Did he leave high school a year early, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, he was going to do the training thing, that Chameleon BX, DX, not DX, that's Degeneration X, Chameleon BX or something. And then he was at junior college. Then the media notes say he was working out with Mike Miller, working out with somebody else, just working on a shot, not knowing where he's going to go. And then had a relationship. Jason Hart, who's the head coach of the G League Ignite, actually recruited him when he was at USC. So they had some commonalities there. And he got there and he's been a lot better than people thought he'd be.
Yeah. Was it Yakima Community College, I believe, in Washington last year, and was really good, obviously, unsurprisingly there. So, yeah. It's a great story. It's a really, really good story that he's found his feet, found his level. I love it. Michael Foster, Fambo Zhang, like, I don't know.
Michael Foster. So he took some shots. He can. Here's the thing. I don't know where he necessarily fits. Somebody wrote to me and said he's a first-round pick. I don't see that. Is he an NBA player? Sure, he is. He is similarly.
You're sure about that?
Okay. Well, similarly to Hardy, he's pretty one-track minded in that he wants to shoot. He wants to score. He did start the game with an assist, and I said, maybe this is the new guy. This is not the guy from Hillcrest Prep I saw in high school who just, you're down 30 and you're hitting threes, doing like the 3 of the head. I'm like, you're down 30, like relax. Then the next play, he threw it in like the 3rd row, like skipping it opposite. And Justin Tillman for the Skyhawks is good. I mean, he's averaging 30 points per game his last 3. I think he had like 35 or 6. Michael Foster was guarding him for most of it. When he's going, like you can tell, like his eyes tell you, like I'm going to the basket. He is strong. He was matched up with Jalen Johnson a little bit. He powered through him. It does get to the point where I'm surprised when he passes the ball. He can finish around the rim, but more of just like a cleanup guy. I don't necessarily know who he defends. So I left where I was before. I didn't have him on my top 60. I don't know really necessarily slots out, but has been more productive than I thought he would be too. In terms of numbers for competition.
Has been productive. I don't think any of the production really translates to an effective NBA player, unfortunately. It's kind of the way to put it. Fambo Zhang, just like a shooter at 6'10".
He was fine. He had a couple shots, didn't do too much.
Yeah. I thought he was like a multi-year kid at Gonzaga, and then he decided to go this route. And I think he should be a multi-year player in the G League, or like go to the NBL for a year or something like that.
Get more reps.
But yeah, don't go to the NBA this year, I would say, would be my advice to him.
And I want to add this too, that so the Skyhawks are the Atlanta Hawks G League affiliate.
Yep.
So both Sharif Cooper and Jalen Johnson played. One's a two-way, one's on assignment, whatever. They both played. It was great.
Jalen Johnson's on the roster. Yeah. And
two-way. So they're both there. They're both playing. It was refreshing in a sense because Jalen Johnson was really good. And you saw the type of guy that I expected to play at Duke. He was getting up and down, making good passes, dunking around people. Jumper was okay, but hitting more stuff. But you saw like the confidence, and you saw the belief, like he needed to play there. He was significantly better. I know Justin Tillman like had the most points. He was the best player like on the floor. And we're talking about other guys' lottery picks, and I don't think you want to completely write off Jalen Johnson. Like if that guy just went to the G League, maybe he goes 12th this year. Very possible.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you have Sharif Cooper. Sharif was not good, and he tweeted after the game like, no one ever said it was going to be easy. It wasn't the kid I saw at Auburn who came off ball screens and was like Hogwarts University wizard, like darting passes all over the place and finishing and shooting threes. He missed some threes. He didn't turn the corner hard enough to pick and roll. It was a nice reminder that NBA is a different game. G League's a different game than college. Sharif could figure it out, but at his size, and that's why I'm kind of evaluating smaller guards in that vein right now. The transition's hard. It is. And he could still do it. And when he gets up and down and has some space to operate, he's way better. When the court gets shrunk and the guy switching out on you is 6'10" and long and physical, it's harder to play the type of style that he wants to.
Okay. Third leg of #Pennie field trip.
Third and final.
OTE. You went to go see Overtime Elite. Let's hear about it.
I was pleasantly surprised. I walked in, I didn't know what to expect because I've tried to watch a couple of games on YouTube, and it's hard as a scout. It's hard as an evaluator because Overtime ultimately is a content company. So they want to make a production. Like I felt like I was on like an MTV set of unbelievable branding and smoke machines and scoreboards and state-of-the-art stuff. But when you strip away like the commentary and all that, there were a lot of good players. So I saw two teams play. I think they have 29 total, but they have like state-of-the-art 2-court practice facility. They have strength conditioning. They have classrooms. Like it's a real thing. Like I've been to enough pop-up prep schools or pop-up places where you walk in, you're in a strip mall and yeah, here's a court. Like that's our classes. Let's how we do it. I walked through the whole thing. Like it's legitimate. And without hearing the MCs and without hearing all the extra stuff, I was able to evaluate a little bit and saw John Montero. I saw Ben Thompson, Don Barlow, and the kids played pretty damn hard. I mean, it was hyped up the whole time that they're playing for first place, $10,000 a kid. It's great. Like, I don't know if this is some like crazy celebrity street ball game that we're playing right now. The coaching's good. I mean, it was Ryan Gomes who played in the NBA, Tim Fanning, who was with Maccabi Tel Aviv, Dave Lato from DePaul and Virginia fame, and Kevin Ollie. Like that's a good crew of guys to develop. And they run sets. At times, does it become an all-star game and a dunk contest? Yeah, it does. But they ran enough that I was able to walk away with some impressions.
What did you think of Jean Montero? Because he's obviously the name for this year. We'll talk about Don Barlow as well, but Jean Montero is the name that people are trying to figure out right now, I think.
So I was lower on him going in, and I think I'm at the same place. He's just a little bit small. He's a little bit slight. He's shooting 29% or so from three, and the shot's not falling. Like he has the confidence to pull up and has deep range on it, but I don't trust it enough to say that he's going to be this great shooter. I texted you or tweeted it. He's a lot better passer than I thought. He made some really good reads out of pick and roll. And then when they got on the break, he had a nice assist or two. He sent the game into overtime with a bucket and assist. So he makes his plays here and there. I don't see the lottery pick stuff. I don't. Like if he was some
I don't either.
If he was some knockdown shooter, I don't want to say Trae Young, but who's 6'2", 6'3", can really. He's not that shooter. He's not. So
Yeah.
It's hard. We just talked about Sharif Cooper having his struggles, and John Montero's a little bit bigger. I think he'll have like a similar arc where he's going to need time to develop and probably play next to a bigger guard next to him that like makes up for the shortcomings that he has.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I really like John coming into the year. I like the tape I saw from when he was over in Spain. He's just small, and I just don't know that I buy the shot either. I agree with you that like the passing and playmaking has really improved, especially early on, like in his career. He was much more of a scorer, but yeah, it's going to be tough. Like,
it is.
Worse prospect than Trey, man. If we're being realistic about it.
No, not close. Trey Man's been okay. Like Trey Man's, I liked Trey Man at Florida. I didn't love him.
Yeah, we both had Trey Man, I think. Like you might have had like a very late first round. Like I had a second on Trey.
Yeah, so, you were lower. I don't have my last year. I think like 25-ish or so.
Yeah.
I prefer Trey Man.
Yeah. Dom Barlow, any thoughts? Because he's obviously eligible for 2022 as well.
I liked him. It's the weirdest thing. He was supposed to go to Bridgeton Academy in Maine and be playing in the Knapsack AAA right now. And instead he's at overtime, and all the people and grassroots guys up around my way are like, well, he had a good summer, but like he's going pro. I kind of see it. Like he's got a really good body. He's got really good body control, can beat his man off the bounce, can pick and pop and shoot a little bit. Does a lot of the little things that kind of make an impact on games too. I don't know if he's a draftable guy, but I'd be surprised if he's not in training camp or fighting for a roster spot somewhere, because at 6'8" or so and can defend a little bit, can switch, has decent feet. There's enough tools to work with there where he can be on the end of the bench somewhere.
Yeah. From what I've seen, like less athletic, like Derek Jones Jr. is kind of the idea.
Way less athletic, but
something like just not polished yet. Like does play hard on defense. Like I actually respect how hard he plays on defense and just in general. Probably not quite draftable for me at this point.
70s, 70, 80s.
Someone I wouldn't mind getting into like the G League, just take a look at and like say, hey, like let's see how this develops over the next couple of years.
I'm calling after the draft and I'm saying, hey, do you want to come play summer league with us? And what's lost a little bit on overtime is I don't know the financial stuff. I don't know how that works. Frankly, I don't really care because we're here to talk basketball, not economics.
Yeah.
Their other classes are really good. Like 2023, they have Asor and Amen Thompson. So I just saw Amen because Asor's team didn't play. Really good, up and down, electric athlete, really tight handle, has to shoot it. Jazion Gortman, who I've liked for a while, kind of like the best of Chris Dunn out of high school. And I know some people might be like, no, Chris Dunn was unbelievable in high school. Just that kind of build setup. 2024 draft class, the kid Tyler Smith from Texas, lefty, 6'9" shooter. Like they have depth there. They do. I don't know the schedule and how they exist in this world going forward and how NIL money has changed anything, but there's some good pieces there. I'm glad I went down.
Okay, let's go to Mailbag, Pennie. We've got some good ones here. We got a lot of them. Thank you guys. I really appreciate the listeners here for just asking. I think you guys asked like 90 questions. Like it was
in like half hour, 35 minutes. Because I drove here and I opened up my phone. I'm not as popular as Sam. I'm like, I have a lot of notifications. You asked a mailbag question, didn't you? I said, yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Okay. The first one was one that was asked yesterday. It was from Steve Peltier, Burke Worldwide. Dear Matt, Pennie, and Sam Vecenie, can you please talk about John Butler's NBA potential when you have a mailbag section or episode? Is he a pre-draft guy? Thank you and love listening to the pod.
Steve's great supporter.
So, yes, he's a real NBA prospect. I'm very interested in John Butler. He is very mobile for being 7 foot tall. He can shoot the lights out. Like I'm very in. I think if you put that guy in a professional setting right now, it would not go well. And I would be worried about like what that would do to his confidence.
Yeah.
I don't see him as a pre-draft guy this year. I see him as go back to Florida State, continue to work on your body and see where it goes. He's 25 pounds lighter than Evan Mobley was last year at the
Which
same
is wild,
size.
right?
Like that is a lot of weight that he has to put on to be a like viable NBA player, even in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. As I have Chet Holmgren second, who needs a lot of weight to be a viable NBA player. The Duke game, he was spectacular. He hit 3 threes, had like a floater. No, it was from the left like baseline, had like a running jumper, and then defended Paolo Banchero at the end of the game. Had a block, had a strip, had a steal. But that was like everything. That was everything put together finally in one game. He hasn't done that consistently enough for me to say, hey, go to the draft. You're there. I would like some more reps in college too. I really like him. I think he's a great prospect. It's just not fully baked.
I really like him as well. I think it's a bit irresponsible to talk about him as a 2022 prospect. Like just being fully transparent. I do. Because he's just so skinny. Like there's just like he cannot go pro this year, period.
Someone's got to show this clip and then splice in Chet getting knocked over, but that's okay. We're okay.
Yeah, it's fine. But like but here's the other thing. Like John Butler is a perimeter player at that size. Chet is tough and physical as hell. Like there's a difference, I think, in terms of the way that they operate. Also, what is Chet listed at right now?
You do this every week. I killed one of my friends said, you said 190-ish like 40 times. His drinking game would be drunk. I think Chet's listed at 195 or 200 pounds, I think.
Which is like 10 pounds more than John Butler right now. And that's a lot.
It's significant when you're that skinny.
Yeah. Okay. From Benny Profane. What national championship matchup would you most want to see for the sake of watching prospects battle? He says personally he thinks Paulo Jabari because he thinks there'd be some serious time guarding one another. That's a great question. I think that it would be Duke Auburn. Like I would love to see Duke Auburn in the tournament.
That's probably the right answer. I like to see Auburn Gonzaga as well. Not as many prospects, but you just have Manu and Mono, those two guys. But Duke Auburn's a good one. That's the first one that comes to mind.
You also get the Mark Williams, Walker Kessler battle. You get Alan Flanagan on some of their perimeter players, who's pretty big. You get Katie Johnson being Katie Johnson and being like a borderline maniac on the court.
No. It's not borderline. That game, he was yelling at the bench. Which bench? Didn't matter. His own bench, Kentucky's bench, the bench of Auburn students. He was fully engaged. We need to make this like a wrestling Survivor Series poster between these two teams, like a boxing bill, because that would be a great poster to hang up at the Roma if it is Auburn versus Duke, because there's a lot of matchups that I'd be intrigued by.
And I love it so much. Like, I don't mean this as a negative for Katie Johnson.
Oh, no.
It's the best fit for a player and a team. Like, that crowd loves him. That crowd goes nuts.
He belongs
with him.
Playing on that stage. Absolutely.
Totally. It's the best. It's the absolute best. Okay, next question. Let's go to Draft Deeper, our good friend Nathan over there. Why does Alondes Williams feel like he's being undervalued at this point? He's playing like a first-round guard this year and could possibly make an impact right away for a good team. This is Wake Forest point guard Alondes Williams. He's like 6'5". Lot of great numbers this year. Pennie, you go ahead. I'll tell people where I have. I mean, I can go first, but I can tell people afterward where I have him ranked right now.
Well, and also I like his story. I like his toughness. He's coming out of junior college. He's an Oklahoma transfer, so kind of like surprised everyone. It's just it needs to be all like smoothed out for me. Just like still some crazy shots, still some crazy turnovers. I don't necessarily know what you're gonna get each night. The passing is actually better than I thought it would be. But it's like, I think I'd rather prefer like Julian Champagnie over him in that sort of role. I don't think he's ever going to have the usage and the volume that he has at Wake Forest either. And the NBA, you just kind of have to do that in 10 minutes and not 34. So I like him. He's like outside the first round for me right now, though.
So pretty far outside the first round for me.
All right.
I've got him like in the 70s right now.
Holy smokes.
To be honest.
Okay, I don't know that.
And the reason for that is I don't love his feel
Oh, I have 58.
at all. Like
Yeah.
at all. I think he just makes some wild decisions, like wild shot selection decisions, wild passing decisions. Like you watch him come off of a ball screen, he's so athletic and has like real skill level. I don't know if he knows what he's like totally looking at yet, to be honest. And he strikes me as like an awesome G League player who's going to be like really good at that level and probably get like a cup of coffee at the NBA level and see how it goes. You know, having a guy in the 70s now, that means he's probably more like in the 50s by the time the draft rolls around, because guys will pull out ahead of him.
And they've been, and Wake Forest has been really good. So credit to that team, to your boy Jake LaRavia, to Steve Forbes, bringing in transfers. They've been awesome. I've long been a fan of Steve Forbes and the way he's built programs. He's done it in 2 years there.
Yep. And by the way, I have LaRavia ahead of him. I do, because
you love him.
I love him, but the feel for the game and the way that it fits at the next level, just in terms of like being able to play off the ball, I think is really valuable. That's the other thing that worries me with Alondes Williams. How does it work when he's playing off the ball?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think it works. Like, I just don't think it works, to be honest, off the ball. And I don't know if he's good enough to play on the ball at the NBA level. Okay. From Brian C. Klinger, can you fix Draymond's back? I think if you can and refuse to do so, it's a crime.
My wife removes, she has minor surgeries. Like if it's like a wart or a cyst, I think we can take it off. But if it's like a major back thing, I can't help you. I don't think she can either, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I unfortunately cannot help in regard to that. I live in Australia, guys. That's a place. Okay. Let's see here. Let's do two more maybe. Sorry about this. As you can see, we really don't answer these questions ahead of time, and there really were a lot of them.
I laughed at the Draymond one. I saw that one. That's why I started laughing prematurely. Other than that, I haven't seen any of these.
It's so good. The Draymond one is so perfect. Good.
God bless the internet.
Yeah. I think we've talked about that one. Did Pennie move Josh Minot into the top 10 or top 5 after the Tulsa performance? He played great against Tulsa.
12.
I think that's a good one. Okay. Here's one from Ben, BCS Buckets. Favorite non-Gonzaga mid-major prospect this year?
Oh, I have mine, but he's my he's my game theory prospect of the week. So maybe you go first.
Well, I think it's still Pat Baldwin for me. I do have him ranked highest on my board. He's at Milwaukee.
Yeah, he hasn't played in forever though, so it's tough.
Yeah, if we're trying to think like upper class mid-major prospect, I mean, like Jordan Hall, I don't know if I consider A10. Hyunjin Lee, I don't know if I consider A10 here. Oh man, I'm really scrolling. You know, Tyler Burton again, Richmond A10. I'm like trying to really find.
It's also like, how do you define like highest ranked, like favorite, like?
I don't want to steal yours.
I really like Tevin Brown at Murray State. I like Ryan Rollins at Toledo. Like I like those guys, but I don't have I have my board in front of me. They're not in the top 40 right now, but like I like watching.
Yeah, Tevin Brown was 103 for me on my board this year. I have Jalen Williams at Santa Clara at 83. I like Jalen Williams quite a bit. Really creative off the bounce. 6'6", got to Santa Clara, I think at like 6'3", and grew 3 inches and put on a lot of weight and strength. Don't love the hip flexibility. Don't love like the jumper all that much, but it's hard to find guys that are 6'6" that can handle the ball like Jalen Williams can, and like take guys off the bounce in a real substantial way. So maybe Jalen Williams is a good answer for me, but this might be a good time. Please, thank you everyone for the questions. First and foremost, we will answer more of these next week for sure. We'll put out the list of, or put out the reminder again next week before we record, but we'll keep some of these like 80 questions that you guys asked and make sure to answer them next week. Let's go to prospects of the week, game theory prospects of the week here. Matt Pennie, you're up first.
My game theory prospect of the week. This is a fairly popular one based on the success he's had the last few weeks. I'm going with Isiaih Mosley from Missouri State. He had 40 points in a win versus then 14-2 Loyola Chicago on the road. They're riding a 30-game home win streak. His 5 previous games, he had 24, 32, 33, and 43. He's up to 21 points per game, shooting 52% from the field, 45% from 3, 90% from the free throw line. He's 6'5" and just has this supreme amount of confidence in his game. He scores. He lets you know it when he scores. He's going to gesture to you and to the crowd. He gets paint touches almost whenever he wants. He's great at pick and roll. He's great as an isolation scorer. The shot's a little funky. It is. And he's wired to put the ball on the ground as soon as he catches it. Like he doesn't want to catch and shoot. But he did hit a couple dagger ones and a couple dagger step backs against Loyola in that game where there was a hitch, but it was like a little less hitchy, but still hitchy. He's super physical on his drives. He uses body, he uses shoulders, he uses that size versus smaller guards, and then he'll work on the glass. A lot of tricks in the bag with his pump fakes, his stutter steps, just a tough player. He was actually my prospect of the week a year ago, if you remember. I think maybe the first time we kind of talked about that when he had similar numbers. The 3-point percentage was a little bit lower. I don't know where he kind of like nets out on boards, but definitely deserves a mention for the week that he had and has catapulted himself into discussion conversation to be one of the better scorers on a mid-major team and throughout the country.
Yeah, I've got him in the 70s. The shooting numbers are just real, right? Like he's 6'5" and shoots 40% from 3. And the mechanics are weird and he puts the ball on the floor beforehand. Like, I get all that. I think he can shoot. I think he can really shoot. That's the thing. Like, that's what matters.
If he can really shoot, he should be a second-round pick if we really buy the jumper. Because at 6'5", and you're not always going to be able to, like, do that bully, overpowering stuff, but he has enough, like, NBA-type counters, like the jump, the step by, the fake, the step through. It's not just plowing through guys all the time.
So here's what worries me. And I didn't really recognize this until I was talking to an NBA scout yesterday. And the NBA scout told me, you should watch his defense. He's really bad. And I get that he's responsible for a lot of offensive creation for Missouri State. And there's probably some energy conservation there.
It's not
low by city a lot of the time.
Yeah.
On defense for him.
That's the unfortunate part of watching full games is that when you're not just clicking on makes on synergy when you see the rest of it. Sometimes the story's different. Stories can be different based on whole game versus clips.
Yeah, it's a lot of getting blown by on defense. And look, I'm willing to contextualize it with like he is responsible for everything Missouri State does on offense, and I'm sure that he needs to like take a breather on defense from time to time.
Right.
But that's where he needs to take the jump. I think that's where the improvement's going to have to come from. All right. My game theory prospect of the week this week isn't someone who's, sometimes we do guys who have big blowout games like Isiaih Mosley, who just dropped 40 against Loyola Chicago, right? This is just a guy I've wanted to talk about on the podcast for a while, and we haven't found an in yet until now. Colby Jones at Xavier. I am an enormous Colby Jones fan.
Yeah, you are.
I just think that he's definitely an NBA player. He is 6'6", 6'7". He's big. Like, I think that I didn't recognize how big he was last year when I watched him. I mean, he looks big against other guards that like have to defend him. And he's strong and he knows how to use his frame to keep them on his hip. Like he's really, really effective at using that size to his advantage. Plays hard on defense. He rebounds. He is in the top 150 nationally right now in offensive rebounding rate because he plays so hard.
Right.
And because he just like flies around and makes things happen. I think he's a really good defender as well. Like just works really well within their scheme. Good driver. I think that's probably where he's most effective. Plays well off the ball. I would love to see him on the ball a little bit more, to be honest. Look, Xavier has Paul Scruggs, obviously, and they use Colby a decent amount on the ball, but I think there's even room for a little bit more. The key here is going to be the shot. Like, does he shoot it? Does he not shoot it?
33% from 3. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's, very similar number to what it was last year. He's taking more of them this year. Like, that's really important. He's taking about 1 more 3 per game. We'll see where it goes. But if the shot comes, he's definitely an NBA player because he does everything else on the court. Like, he is one of those players who's an everything but guy. He just needs the shot. And I tend to be someone who thinks that the shooting can improve at a high level. So, and the other thing is, you talk to people around the program and you talk to people that have met with him and everything. Really, really intelligent kid, comes from a great family. I believe that had a Stanford offer. Academically, very, very intelligent. All of the background boxes get ticked. I am a believer in Colby Jones playing in the NBA. I have him at 40 on my board right now.
Whoa, that's
probably high.
That is high.
Yeah. But honestly, I don't even think he should leave this year. It's just that, the other part of this equation that's real, he's younger than Chet Holmgren. He's still 19 years old, and as a sophomore in college, he's performing at a really high level. I'm a big believer in Colby Jones.
Yeah, I like him. That's a good sell. I thought he turned the corner a little bit sooner, and he may still need to turn it some. He showed promise, I'd say, the middle of last season, that made me think he may be a first-round guy for this year. Been slowish, but I get it. I like the size, like you said, the handle, the rebounding from the wing, plays through contact well. I do hope he goes back and he plays a little bit more, but I see the intrigue that you have with him.
Okay. What random sports movie did Sam find on TV this week in Australia while trying to search for sports? So every time that
random general movie, right? You said sports movie.
No, random general movie.
There we go. Okay.
People who live in Australia will know that Australian TV plays a lot of really weird movies. I tweeted a photo of Dan Cortez and someone else in a volcano movie or something. Because the cricket ended early.
At what time?
We're talking midday. We're talking before so I was looking for the Australian Open, and they have all these random channels. So Channel 9 has Channel 9, 9 Go, etc. Right? They have all these different 3 or 4 channels. And before the tennis was on, I found a gem. It's a little movie from, I believe, 2004. We're talking pure That 70s Show heyday. It's called Win a Date with Tad Hamilton, starring Topher Grace, Kate Bosworth, Josh Duhamel. No, I did not stop and watch this movie.
You scrolled by.
But I've seen it before.
It was on TV. That's cop out. That's because
I've seen it before. I don't need to see it again.
The next segment, it's going to be what random movie on TNT or TBS is on the hotel when we checked in, because it's always something random that makes no sense.
I'll tell you this, man. As someone who sees a lot of random shit on TV in America, it's nothing like it is here. European Vacation.
Where does that come from?
I don't know. Some sort of licensing rights.
It has to be, right? Yeah.
So Win a Date with Tad Hamilton, with Topher Grace. This is the movie with Kate Bosworth, where Kate Bosworth kind of became a thing because she's very likable in the movie. But the problem with the movie is, and this is a movie I remember from when I saw it back in 2004, 2005, whenever.
Wow. Yeah.
Back when I was 14 or 15. The problem with this movie is that they make Josh Duhamel, the titular Tad Hamilton, way too likable compared to Topher Grace. So when Kate Bosworth is supposed to end up with Topher Grace at the end, you're like, wait, what are you doing?
You're rooting for the Joker to be Batman.
Yes, exactly. You're rooting for.
But you get it. Heath Ledger was really good. If he wins, whatever.
Yeah. Great. This movie, just an unreal cast. We're talking those 3. Gary Cole. We got Nathan Lane, Catherine Hahn, Octavia Spencer, Amy Smart, We got Tobolowsky in this movie. We got an uncredited Paris Hilton who was apparently in a deleted scene. We have an uncredited Jordana Brewster who was apparently in a deleted scene. We got to get these deleted scenes, Penny. Like,
I'm sure I can find them. This movie sounds a lot
Yeah.
better in retrospect than it actually was.
yeah, we got Jennifer Goodwin here, who was on Once Upon a Time for years upon years. What a movie!
All-star cast.
All-star cast. Just a beautiful, beautiful flick. I believe it's like isn't it set in like fucking like West Virginia? It's like a weird fucking
Sure.
town in West
Yeah,
Virginia.
it's where you'd want to win a date with Tad Hamilton. One of those spots.
What a movie. Just a beauty. Okay. Penny, you're up. Do you want to talk Yellowjackets? Do you want to talk?
We have to do 5 minutes of Yellowjackets because I plowed through. I watched 2 episodes tonight. I stayed up too late. We got to talk about it. This is the spoiler zone. Turn off the podcast. Thanks for listening. This is great. You want to get nuts?
Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go subscribe to everything else, please. Okay, we're up on Yellowjackets.
Spoilers. Okay, so I finished it. Great show, right? I loved it.
It's unreal.
It had me. Here's my problem. Okay.
No.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Great cast. Great story. Had me. I had no idea this was like slated to be 5 seasons. I thought this was like True Detective, 1 season standalone, knockout cast. Right. So I'm watching, and all my friends have finished it. Shout out Lil Kev, my buddy who really pushed me to, who's mad that I didn't say it before. Lil Kev, this is you. Okay. I'm watching this last episode. And they're abandoned. They're on the freaking wilderness, right? And all this crazy stuff's happened back home. And I keep pausing it. I'm watching my wife. There's 20 minutes left. There's 12 minutes left. There's 8 minutes left. I'm like, they're not going to solve this thing. We're going to leave with like unfinished questions. What's going to happen? This thing ends, and I like throw my hands in the air. I'm like, what are we doing? This solved nothing. This was just like 10 episodes of I'm in the same place I started. We solved like a half a question. And then I looked it up like, oh, no, this is an ensemble cast. We're going to do this for years. So I was pissed. If I had known it was like this, I think I would have approached the finale differently. But that's why I'm like so mad right now.
It is so good. I don't care. Like I'm in for
you didn't
5
want
seasons.
some answers on some stuff. And then one of the showrunners was interviewed and said, yeah, we have plans, but Adam's character, we'll just kind of see what happens. Like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean you're gonna see what happens? You're gonna like crowdsource like who this guy was? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, all right, is Christina Ricci like part of this like crazy thing? Like, all right, Lottie's alive, great. What the hell does this symbol mean? That was like in the woods and they got there, then they weren't like, were there people there? How they get out of there? You had the thing with Shauna about her like knowing how to cut open the rabbit, but she hasn't really cut open anybody in the wilderness yet. I felt like it was a cop-out just because I thought it was going to end then. That's all.
Okay.
I really liked it. It's a 9 out of 10, but like I just felt unfinished. That's
so let's dive deep into some of these questions here. Right.
Yeah,
so did you appreciate the way that they handled the Jackie character? Because that was my one thing. I was like, it works because the whole time they've been like kind of setting up that she's being alienated. She's being,
of course,
cast out after being the leader of the group. And as Lottie's rise happens, Jackie is falling. Right.
Yes.
I don't know. It's a little bit.
They still did her dirty. Like she's still like Shauna still cheated on her boyfriend with her. Like I get it. She'd be like a bad person, but yeah, it's kind of like eye for an eye. We're both blind. Like, hey, why don't you go sleep outside? Then it's like a cold night and they're just like froze to death. Like, sorry, she's dead. Like, what do we do? I don't know, dude. You're in the middle of the wilderness. It's been like freezing. You guys like huddling together. You thought you're gonna wake up and it would be the summer again. Like that was frustrating for me too.
Our queen Misty, just 10 out of 10 human being.
Yeah,
like
perfect.
Neater.
I mean, character.
Perfect.
Not the scene where the quote unquote private investigator or whatever leaves the house and crashes the car. You knew it was coming.
So good.
It was perfect. She's like smoked last cigarette. She's like, God damn it, Misty.
Every single thing with
Caligula.
Misty in that show works.
Yeah.
Every single moment she is on screen, she shares a screen with Juliette Lewis, giving like an incredible performance. And every single time she's on screen, like the scene where she runs in and like does the cocaine so that Juliette Lewis doesn't do cocaine, like it's fucking incredible. It's so good. Every single time that Christina Ricci is on the screen, you're just like, I can't take my eyes off this character. I need to spend as much time with her as possible.
And while you'll know that I'm weird, you know how mad I was, and I get it. It's symbolic when Juliette Lewis breaks the vending machine and just takes one thing and just takes peanut M&Ms. I paused it. I was like, you got purple Skittles, blue Skittles, green Skittles. You had all these choices, and you went for peanut M&M. You destroyed this machine, and like your anarchist point of view, you're just going to take one thing. It's a peanut M&M. Like, I don't know, that pissed me off too.
So, I don't like the peanut M&Ms. I will say though,
I'm not hating. I'm just like that was the pick. Like I don't know.
I'm a big fan of the peanut butter M&Ms.
Oh, absolutely. Pretzels even better.
Love them. Yeah. Well, absolutely love the peanut butter M&Ms. Like if I'm going to a movie and I can find those, I'm in. Not the peanut ones. I don't love the peanut ones. I love the peanut butter ones. Okay. Do you think Adam is/was Javi?
No, because wouldn't they have known? Like how would they have not known that?
But the thing is though that they didn't know where Travis was in the beginning because Travis had changed his name and had it seems like kind of moved into a different part of his life, moved into Vermont or wherever he was. Mm-hmm. That was my theory. Like the whole time Laura and I were watching, we were like,
Jackie
this
called
guy
that
is
early
Javi.
too. That's what it was. But then when the showrunner said, no, it's not that at all, I was like, oh, okay. It left it on open.
By the way,
I gotta call it. Go ahead.
The showrunners need to stop talking. Like,
need the mystery.
I love you guys. Thank you for creating a show that we so thoroughly enjoy.
Loved. Yes.
You guys need to stop talking. Like let the mystery hang in the air.
Too much mystery, but yeah, let it build. Here's my other call out here. Again, just the weirdest in my brain. Does that, and you watch a lot of movies, probably a lot of high school-ish, college stuff. Does it drive you nuts that every high school reunion is at said high school? How many high school reunions are ever at a high school? 20th year reunion are going to be in the gym? Like, so you go to a restaurant,
I've never
you go to
gone to a reunion, so I don't know.
I promise you, it wasn't at your high school gym. But like every movie, like every TV series, the reunion's like at the high school. Never happens. I don't know why we keep doing this.
I'm with it. The weird one was the girl who like breaks her leg at the beginning is the same girl as the MC, we think, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Isn't she supposed to be a freshman? Like, isn't that the whole point of what Thaisa is doing? Yeah. And then she's just like there as if like it's her reunion too.
We went through the trauma together. We're gonna get through it. The dark humor was perfect too, by the way. Like so perfect. Good. Like when they were doing when the first person, well, I think they're burying people from the plane crash and they're doing like the circle, like holding hands, like say something. Well, she was just pulled up from JV, so I didn't know her that well. But I'm like, this is so dark. This is so dark.
What do you think is going on with Thaisa?
I don't know if anyone knows yet. That's why I don't have an opinion. I don't think the showrunners, the screenwriters, whatever. I think they've kind of left that a little bit of breathing room where they can figure out what they want to do with it. The first thing was split personality, and she has like that darkness in her. Maybe she was medicating and then went off it. Clearly, she was the woman in the tree. But then you have like the thing with her with the guy with no eyes. There's all these like
that's the one where I'm like totally thrown. Like, what is going on there?
Mine was more the symbol, but then the guy with no eyes. It was
like is the guy with no eyes the guy that you see? Like, is he the skeleton in the attic, and then the guy that you see when Jackie dies, where like she's sitting in the chair, and then you see
I took that guy as the hunter from the house, and that was like his ghost. Yeah.
But like, is that guy the same as the guy with no eyes? Like, I can't tell. I don't know.
I couldn't tell either.
Okay, home inspection question though.
Okay.
Do you have a basement in your house?
Unfinished, yes.
If you go down to the basement and you see blood, just a couple drops of blood, like coming from the, I don't know, what do you want to call that? Like the little like airway, I guess, air vent, let's call it. Are you opening that air vent and going in?
I'm taking a look. Maybe I'm throwing like a baseball in there and see if it like comes back to me or what happens. But I don't know if I'm like crawling in. I still rent, so I think that'd be a call to my landlord. Like, hey, I think we got like a situation here. I'm not that brave. I'm not that brave. I don't think I would climb in there.
There is no circumstance I am climbing in that vent. Like there is literally zero chance that you are getting me in that vent. Also, who the hell has a vent that big? Like it's a weird ass, like huge enormous vent.
What is it? What was the Frida Pinto movie we watched? It was the same thing. Like, oh yeah, secret room like here that nobody knew about. It wasn't in the schematics of the house. What was the name of that movie? I can't remember. Remember it was on Netflix. It was bad. I don't know. Whatever.
Oh yeah. It was
whatever. But it was like, oh, this is the actual blueprints. How do all these places have secret rooms? Maybe I just don't know about the secret room in mine, and that's the problem.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, did the builder of my house build like a secret basement? We don't. So, like, it's apparently a thing here in Australia where people don't have basements. Like, that's just not a.
It's like the West Coast kind of too.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, there's not necessarily the movie we're talking about is Intrusion.
There you go. Intrusion has a room. I don't know. Maybe all these places have panic rooms. Just gotta dive a little bit deeper.
Oh my god. Okay. Favorite part of the show.
Oh, the soundtrack. Is that weird?
I felt like
the soundtrack like hit it like perfectly so many times.
The Offspring like drop whenever they walk into the reunion could not be more perfect.
Separated. Oh, it's great. Perfect.
Yeah. It was amazing.
I was the part I'll leave it as I was rooting for, and they kind of cleaned it up. I was rooting for Shauna to kind of like not be a murderer like later in life and just have like the trauma when she stabbed at Adam, right? When she stabbed him at the end of the 9th episode, I was like a little bit pissed off because I'd gone 9 episodes of being like, you got your scars, you got your emotional baggage, I complete your trauma, I understand. But then it's like, we're back. Like, here we are. Here we go again. And I hope it doesn't go 5 seasons because there's only so much stuff you can do and dance around. Is it supernatural? Is there other people out there? Who else was out there? Like, I don't want to keep going back in time for 5 or 6 seasons. It was sort of like, I don't know if you ever watched This Is Us, but after like 3 seasons of This Is Us, it was like, I don't want to go back in time anymore. Like, can we just do like present day? And maybe they close that loop and seasons 3 through 5 are present day. But I think you can only do so much of going back to the past.
So I have some concerns on that too.
Mm-hmm.
It could end up like a Lost. Like this show is very Lost. Like it's very indebted to Lost, obviously. I wonder if it's like a situation where they decide we have to go back. Like,
oh god, no! Like I didn't think of that yet. No, why
if it goes that long,
what's there? Yeah. Oh, that's what's going to happen, isn't it? Oh,
yeah.
I think you ruined it. You're right.
Well,
they're supposed to go back actually to TV apparently later in 2022. So hopefully the wait isn't too long.
That'd be great. That's what we're hoping for. I will say I thoroughly enjoy Natalie and Juliette Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Think that character is awesome. I think that they did a really good job of casting the young player or the young actors slash actresses to match the performances of the older player or the older actresses. Like it's really, really good.
The mannerisms too. The mannerisms was like perfect between the two of them. Like you saw some of the stuff like, oh, that's Juliette Lewis for sure.
All right. Unfortunately, we got some news here that we're going to talk about.
Oh, better fire through. We're at hour 50 right now.
Seth Davis, a source told The Athletic with direct knowledge, Louisville coach Chris Mack and the school are in final stages of negotiations for a separation agreement. This is happening. It's done. It's donezo. How did this fail? Let's just go for it. Let's do it now. That way we don't have to do it next week. How did the Chris Mack era at Louisville go?
Because the Chris Mack era at Xavier, he always seemed like the candidate of going back down the road, didn't have to move, could bring a system in there, hired the right staff. I thought when he got there, recruited at a high level, brought in some McDonald's All-Americans, had Malik Williams, had Sam Williamson. I thought the pieces were there to do it. It hasn't, and as you know, and the expectation on not just winning, but winning and succeeding in the NCAA tournament is paramount at a place like Louisville, especially when you're battling Kentucky every year. So when you have that, you have some off-the-court issues, you have some stuff with assistants leaving and people getting fired. The tolerance level is not there for the product on the court isn't good enough either.
So this year is a disaster. There's not like this is an unmitigated disaster. They did a really poor job of identifying guard talent this year, which not great, right? The offense looks terrible. They can't initiate sets. I don't even love what they're running. Like, I don't know what they're running half the time.
Hard
when
watch.
I watch them.
Hard watch.
It's a really bad watch. A lot of their offense over Chris Mack's time as a coach has been, influenced, let's say, by Luke Murray, who left the staff last year and is now at Connecticut. Connecticut has a top 25 offense in the country, despite the fact that they lost James Bouknight. They have a better offense this year, despite losing a lottery pick and having one ball handler on the court at once, because Connecticut runs really good stuff and figures out how to get offense. On top of that, Luke Murray worked with the guards a lot. And I think that losing Luke was probably a bad choice for Chris. And that was obviously, along with Dino Gaudio, that whole situation, which resulted in Chris Mack being suspended for 6 games to start the year. I think that the way he handled that situation last year with the assistants was disastrous. There's just not another way to put it. You lose 2 guys that you're very close with who have just not done a good enough, who have done a good job by you, I would say. Luke Murray brought in a lot of the kids that Chris Mack, coached at Louisville and at Xavier. So that wasn't great. His substitution patterns over his time this year at Louisville, it's clear he's searching. It's clear that
that's took words in my mouth. Yeah.
He doesn't know what to do. And I get it on some level, but it's over the last 5 games, no single lineup has played more than 5% of Louisville's minutes. That is crazy. Think about that. 5% of a game, 5% of a game is how many minutes? It's 1/20th of the game. It's 2 minutes.
Yeah. You're the smart guy, not me, mathematically. So.
No single lineup has played more than 10 minutes together over the last 5 games.
That's the epitome of searching, though. I mean, you look at his 4 years there. First 2 years, promising. 2014, 24.
They were ranked number 1 in the country at one point.
Yes,
they were ranked number 1 in the country at one point.
Yes. And then the last 2 years, 13-7, now 11-9, where Louisville expects kind of like elite 8 caliber-ish stuff. With it just, you can't have it all those ways. You can't have that plus the assistant stuff leaving, plus you're losing. It's just something's got to give at some point. I think you called it out. The fan base turned very quickly, and when you do that, it's pretty much over. There's no turning back the tide. They ripped off 15 straight wins. We could still be sitting in the same position March 10th. So if you're ripping off the Band-Aid now for both parties, it clearly wasn't working. You can tell in press conferences it wasn't working. Make the not clean break, but the break now, and it kind of gives Louisville a little bit of a head start in saying we're going to find our guy. We have all this time now to get ahead of it and probably find or try to find the best candidate. So even active sitting head coaches in college basketball see that, and maybe that's enticing, and they put out their feelers and see if there's any mutual interest too.
The other thing I want to note here is nobody has gotten better on this roster. Samuel Williamson was a McDonald's All-American. He hasn't gotten any better.
Loved him out of high school.
Especially this year.
Yep.
This year, he's the same player, if not worse. Dre Davis, he's from Indianapolis, if I remember correctly. I really liked him last year. I was really impressed with him as a potential role player starter. He hasn't gotten any better this year. And he's playing less minutes than he did last year when I thought he was actually pretty good. I don't really know why he's playing less minutes.
Yep.
I don't think Malik Williams has really gotten much better, to be honest.
He had some comment last week. Is there a disconnect? Today, I have no comment on that. It's that's the disconnect. If you say, if someone asks,
have you seen the video of that?
I haven't. I just saw a tweet.
I mean, he pauses for like 8 seconds, and it's clear that like there's a lot going through his mind. He's like trying to figure out what to say, and he decides to no comment it. But like, oh boy, it was a bad look. But yeah, the guy's just like Jalen Withers. Like Jalen Withers looked pretty useful last year. He looks like at sea right now in terms of what's going on. So.
And I don't know. Look, they probably miss Carly Jones too. Carly Jones is really good. Like they probably
I'm sure they do.
They probably miss having him too.
But again, though, that comes back like they evaluated properly the guard position that year and brought in Carleek. Didn't evaluate it well this year. And they like, when was the last time they brought in a freshman point guard to grow with the roster and like continue to develop? Like, I mean, David Johnson, I guess, but like David Johnson was always going to go there. And David Johnson was more of like a secondary ball handler at Louisville. Yeah, I don't know. It's not good. It was not, it didn't go well. The fan base had totally turned. Like I've been searching Chris Mack's name after games on Twitter during this streak. And it was just clear that they were done.
Yeah. And attendance.
I was just curious.
They have a rabid fan base. They do. Like it's not called the Papa John Center anymore, but
the Yum Center.
Yum Center. That's right. I played at Freedom Hall when Coach Pitino was there. We won. But like that was a great win for Travis Ford. Rick Pitino coached him. My point is this. Like they care so much there that like you can get it rocking. That's still a great job. That's a pro college team in the sense that like they take it as seriously as they would an NBA team. That's their program. They want to win. They want to beat Kentucky. They want to be at the top of the league. So I get it. You can't go 11-9 and 13-7. That's the break sometimes. No,
that's 100% right. Just like as easily as Louisville can pay a coach. This is something I talked about on the Eye on College Basketball podcast with Gary Parrish and Matt Norlander this week. Like just as easily as a Louisville can keep Rick Pitino for $7 million a year, $8 million a year, they can get a buyout real quick for a coach that isn't working because people care that much about the school and care that much about basketball there. You can't lose to Pitt. You can't lose to Pitt. Coached by Jeff Capel. Can't lose
from
to this
a
team.
Fields fan even saying this. This is how low we've gotten.
Listen, they've lost to Furman, DePaul, Western Kentucky, an NC State team ranked outside the top 100.
DePaul's good this year, but I get it.
DePaul is good this year. DePaul is ranked 103rd in Ken Palm right now.
They're good.
And they lost to Pitt. They lost to Pitt.
That was the end of it. Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. And you can't do that. It's unfortunate that it ended this way. The whole thing seems very unfortunate, but the other thing is that I think that here's another part of this, that the fan base turns on you. The fan base turns on you when you start like going into press conferences and like acting like you didn't say what you said in terms of like, has the team, do you know what motivates the team? I think was the quote. Like, I don't know what motivates these guys. And then the next press conference he goes in and is like, did I say that? You should know the quote. Like, you're the one quoting it. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? What's the point here? There's just that's when you know it's the end of the road. When you start addressing stuff like that, everyone knows. Everyone knew it was over. People thought it was going to make it to the end of the year. It escalated rapidly and quickly. We were talking about it before we started recording. Like, does this happen today? Did we talk about it now? We mentioned it earlier, and 2 hours later, here we are. Yeah. No one likes to see this when it happens. Louisville fans, I think, are probably pretty happy, to be honest. I think Louisville fans are very happy that the university seems like they're just pulling the Band-Aid off and finishing this, and we're going to be on to a new
on to more unrealistic expectations of the head coach. So we should put Brad Stevens at the top of the list, and we'll go down from there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think they're going to make
swings.
Probably look.
They're going to swing. I'm going to say names.
Yeah, they're going to swing. Let's say that they're going to go for.
Let's not get ourselves in trouble. They're going to swing.
Yeah, I'm not going to name names, but like I would imagine that they're going to take a big swing on 3 or 4 guys, and maybe they get them. Like, we'll see where it goes. Louisville can pay a crazy amount of money, and the fan base is great. You can build the best program in the country at Louisville. That's what I'll close on.
Yeah, they have won a national championship. They've done a couple national championships.
I genuinely believe that if you get the right coach in there, given the resources, given everything they put into that program, you can build the best program in college basketball at Louisville. And, you know, when the results are not making the NCAA tournament 2 years in a row and everything, it's probably time to move on. Okay, Pennie, we've been here 2 hours. It's been too long.
Yes.
We set up too much today. That was bad on my part.
We'll get better.
Please tell the people where they can find your shit.
Find me on Twitter, Matt_Pennie. I actually have a couple guest pod appearances this week. I'm going on with Jordan Sperber, friend of the program, tomorrow, and Boxing One on Thursday. A bunch of college games, and then some other fun nuggets in about a week or two. But yeah, just potting here and posting my little clips on Twitter. Just
the best. Go follow Matt Pennie. Remember, tag him, #Pennie Field Trip. Please make sure that that's a thing. I have a big board coming out tomorrow. You'll be able to read my full rankings that I've referenced here tomorrow, Wednesday. So maybe by the time you're listening to this, I have maybe something else. I don't really want to say what yet, but we will see. It's not like a big reported thing or anything, but I don't want to promise it and underdeliver. Yeah, that's it. Until next time, we will talk soon. Bye.